Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jennifer and today we're going to be talking about searching using find, different ways we can compose searches using find in the Church Windows 21 18.3. If you're following along in our workbooks, this will be found in Membership 102, pages 9 through 13. We're going to be covering how to do different various searches using find in membership. If you haven't attended one of our webinars before, everyone will be muted, and if you have questions, you can type those into the questions panel on the webinar toolbar. And Josh is with us to answer those questions. If I feel that it's relevant for everyone, I'll answer it out loud. Otherwise, Josh will answer, or I'll come back to the questions at the end of the webinar. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the membership module. Find can be found right away at the top of the screen in the left-hand corner. Let me grab my little highlighter tool. It's right up here. And the find is primarily used to find groups of people, but it can also be used to find a single person. If you want to look up someone based on their email address or their phone number, you could use find. If you just want to pull up a single person by their name, you open the people file and use person lookup right here. But if you want to find a group of people or get a count of people who meet a certain criteria, that's when you'll use find. You have an additional find button in the people file right here next to the back and forth arrow buttons. When you click find, either at the top or on the people screen, it's going to bring up a window that looks very much like reports. This allows us to create all kinds of different complex find search criterias. If we want to see a list of everyone in the database, all we have to do is click Find in the bottom right-hand corner of the Find Criteria screen without entering any search criteria, and that will bring up everybody except for our inactive people. And I can maximize this screen so that I can see the whole thing. Now you'll notice that on my screen I've got the mailing label, first name, last name, email address, and cell phone. There will be another webinar where we talk about using columns and sorting to organize the grid in a way such as this. When you originally open it, it will look more like this. It will show the mailing label and a whole bunch of other fields. If you scroll to the right, you'll see all kinds of different fields of information. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go back to that saved layout that we were looking at. So again, if we want to bring up the list of absolutely everybody who's active, we simply click Find. Don't select anything on the criteria screen, just click Find again, and then we go to the list of everybody. You can also click the New Search button at the top of the Find grid right here in order to enter a new search. For example, we could look up people with a particular status. Let's say, for example, I want to see my active and associate members only. I select those two and I press Add to Selection, and then I click Find, and that gives me a much smaller list. You can see also when you have the screen maximized, it gives you a total number of records way up here at the top of the screen, if you can see that all the way up here. This says 43 records are included in this search. And if I make it a little smaller, it shows it right up here in the blue bar across the top. Let me highlight that again. 43 records. And then here, a little lower down where it says grid includes, that's where it tells me what criteria I searched for. Status code is one of the following. Another frequent search that folks will use the grid for, if I click New Search, is finding inactive people. To do that, the most important thing is to click this inactive box over here on the right side. Then if I only want to see inactive people, I can search by either the inactive dates or the inactive reason, or just whether or not an individual or a family has inactive set to yes, or has it checked on their record. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up specific inactive dates. For example, I could say I only want to see folks who were inactivated between certain dates. So let's go with the folks that became inactive in the past 5 years. So I'll start with 01, 01, 201, let's just say from 2015 through today. And then I press Add to Selection, and I click Find. Let me erase my little highlighter. And I have nobody who was inactivated during those dates, so that was a bad example. My apologies. Let's use the inactive reason instead. The inactive reason, let's say I want to see all my deceased records. I can check the death reason and press Add to Selection and click Find. And if I forget to press that inactive checkbox, I get this message. You have asked for individuals with an inactive reason code, but you have not selected to include inactive. Include inactive will be checked. So that means it's going to check that inactive box for me. And I'll say OK. And then this is going to show me my records of folks who were inactivated because they passed away. We can also use combinations of criteria. For example, let's use our status again. My status code of active and associate. And I'll press Add to Selection. And then in the center of the screen here, I have and, or, and some parentheses. What I can do with those is I can say status code is one of the following. And let's say we want a list of people who don't have an email address so that we can send them a letter. So we'll say email address is blank and press Add to Selection. So now this is going to find people who have one of these two statuses and they have a blank email address. That's going to be 18 records. I can scroll through and you can see in that email address column, it's blank for these folks. So that's how we can combine certain criteria together. When you're composing criteria, If you have a search that you use very frequently, you can use the saved selections down at the bottom of the screen, right here, to save that criteria to be able to use it again in the future. So if we compose a criteria such as, let's say, status is one of our two main statuses, and let's go with marriage date is between, and we can do, a certain range of dates. Or we can choose certain months. So maybe we send something out for the first part of the year. Let's do January through June. Add that to the selection. Then I can save this as a selection. January through June, anniversary. Oops. It would help if I could type. And then when I click Find, it'll bring up any folks who match that criteria. And if I close out and go back in, now it's a choice in my saved selections. So all I have to do is choose it from the list. Now I also could change my saved selection if I need to. And I can click this little minus button to delete the saved selection if it is no longer relevant or if I find there's an error in that selection. Someone has asked about searching on baptism dates, so I'll go ahead and show you how we would do that. We can search on date fields using a variety of different operators. If you choose is after, for example, we could look at all the baptisms since, let's say, the year 2000, 01, 01, 2000. And I'm going to say no because I still had that saved selection selected and I don't want to change it. And there we go. That's my list of everyone who was baptized after the year 2000. So that's an example of how we can use dates to search. So that pretty much covers everything for how to search using the Find Grid. If there are other questions, go ahead and type those in. If there are specific searches that you're still a little confused about, feel free to give us a call and we'd be happy to walk you through creating those searches that you need to do. You also have the option to search based on giving and pledging. So you could say only those who gave in a particular date range, let's say for the last few years. And you could also select people who gave to a particular account. You can search based on any of the fields available in membership. So when you're looking at that new search, all of these fields are all of the membership fields, so you can search on any of those. When you're searching on a date, Laura asked if it includes that date or if it starts the following date when you use after or before. It does not include that date itself. And same with if you're searching on an age range, for example, if you want to search for, let's say age is less than 18, that would not include 18 itself. It would be 17 and under. So if you truly want the 18-year-olds included, you would have to do 19. So that was a very good question, Laura. It doesn't include if you're saying is after or is less than or before. It doesn't include what you're actually typing. It starts afterwards. Joan asked about phone fields that are incomplete. What you can do with a phone field, if it's incomplete and you filled it in with some X's, you could do contains. Or if your X's are just standing in for a number that you actually know, you could put in the number. For example, if you're looking for phone numbers that contain a certain area code, let's say contains 614. Then we would click find and it would bring up anyone with a phone number containing 614 or whatever numbers you type in. Krista's asking about searching for duplicate records. There's not a way to look for duplicates only. What you can do is if you know there's a duplicate for a certain family, you could bring up all of the duplicates based on a last name search. The and, or, and parentheses buttons are covered in detail in another one of our webinars, but essentially, and means the person has to meet both of the criteria that you're adding, or is one or the other. So for example, I could say age is less than 18, or school grade is anything besides high school graduate. So that way, if I don't always have birthdays, but I have the school grade listed for kids and I want to see the kids, or for example, if I only have their birthday and I don't have a school grade, it would include all of them. So that's how an or works. It's one or the other they have to meet. There's not a way to search on all phone fields at the same time. You would have to search the phone fields individually. If you do have multiple phone fields, they have to be searched individually. It is possible to do a mass edit. We're not going to talk about that today. It would definitely take us well past our time. So that's a separate webinar. If there are any other questions, get those typed in. Otherwise, that pretty much takes up our time for today. And so if you don't have any questions, you can sign out. Thank you for joining us, and we hope this was helpful. Thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so if you are typing a question, just hit enter so that I know you're still typing something, and then you can finish typing. Otherwise, I'm going to wait another moment or two and then close out the room. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.